What's up, everybody? Welcome to Clutch's Corner. Let's go ahead and get right on into it. All right, so first thing that I'm going to be looking at is Amazon with a juicy failed 2 on it. I'm going to be looking at the 177.50 strike. If you want to go next week, you can, just for that extra little padding that you get with time. Textbook 2122 rep. This is a textbook reversal right in here that we're looking to come take out the highs of the ones, potentially the highs of the two. Now, going into the 30-minute time frame, we can start seeing where price targets are going to be coming from. First one right in here. We can see these candles are all having a little bit of trouble getting above and staying above this. Of course, the high of that day. Then we're going to come all the way out to the top of this one right in here where all of these candles have trouble getting to the upside. And then this one bounces off of it. Ignore pre-market and stuff. But of course, you can see that in the pre-market here, we're having trouble staying below this as well. And then we will test the top of this 2, which all of this kind of chops through as well. Wicks off of it here. So this is going to be the next important spot. And then the high of the day off of the 2 right in there. Amazon looks really good. I really like it, especially bouncing off of this area. It does typically like to go towards the upside. Moving on to the next one is Apple, which took out PT1 today and then immediately pivoted off of it. For Apple, I'm looking at the same thing, 177.50. Of course, you can go next week for the same exact reasons. Give yourself that little padding for theta not having as big of an effect on stuff and your percentages not being as impacted by the smaller price that you're getting in at. Now, because of range, you will extend past the failed 2 into this area over here, but let's go to the 30 minutes and start seeing where things are coming from. Top of this 2 right here, where this wicks off of it and these things are crossing through it. So this is our first algorithm. Our second one right in here where all this sideways is through it. Of course, the high of the day. And then, like I said, we're going to expand onto over here. The top of this 2 and the top of this 2, where you can see that this is a big wall, even in the pre-market. Right here is where it finally does break, but this is just being like a little conservative. And that is where the price targets are coming from in that totality. If we keep rising up here, that's where it can go. Awesome. With that being said, let's go ahead and go to Bank of America, which has clear exhaustion on it. Same place it had exhaustion earlier, and it looks like it wants to retest these lows again. And the strike price I'll be looking at is the 35.50. Again, you can go to next week if you'd like a little extra padding on there. But that is the strike price that I will be looking at. You will be in the money by the time you get to the final PT. And I don't really recommend buying in the money for BAC. I mean, you can. It's just, double the price for double the delta. So you just got to decide if you want to do that. It's not a bad idea if it is same week, but next week, yeah, it actually might be a good idea. I'm going to be honest, might be a good idea to buy it in the money if you want to just make even more delta off of your movement. All right, let's do the price targets. Bottom of this 2 right here. We can kind of see that this is just a classic case of steps where just all day it was pushing up. So if anybody is in calls, this is more than likely where they're going to have their stop losses, aka pivots, aka algorithms. Right here at the bottom of this 2, chop city right in here. Bottom of this 2, chops through right here, also right in here. Bottom of this 2, where these things can't get above it. Bottom of this 3, and then I zoomed into the 5 to see what was going on in between this large area. And right in here is where that other price target is coming from. That's where the 35.53 is coming from off the 5-minute. Remember, it's not often that we go to the 5-minute. Sometimes you just want to see where are potential pivots in between these larger areas of openness. Moving on to crowd. Now, crowd, I would suggest, you can get this one farther out of the money, the 327.50. You won't quite get in the money by the final PT, but you will have great intrinsic value along the way, and you do have a great delta. So it's not as big of a deal as buying something that's farther out of the money and has a small delta. This is a good delta, something that I would recommend to be doing that. However, for this in particular, I would recommend getting same week expiration contracts. They're going to be significantly less expensive and still have an incredible delta on it. Price wise, you should be able to work with this pretty well. And the price targets, first one is coming off the top of this one, 2122 rev, another textbook example of what these look like. These are my favorite plays. I hope that they just don't gap up and leave us tomorrow. Please start below entry so that we can all take you, please. Top of this one, top of this two, going down to the 30 minutos. The top of this two, and then because, like I said, there's a big area of nothingness here, I wanted to zoom in. And believe it or not, I actually had to zoom in to the minute chart. But why? Why would I zoom into the minute chart? I don't do that for obviously everything. Why would I do it here to find this price target? Because there's about $5 difference in between there. So where is it possible for it to pivot in between that? And it's possible right here. It is possible right here. All right, so that is crowd. Crowd looks really good for tomorrow. Roku, I'm actually really excited about as well, especially with the nasty gap up that it had today. It filled the gap, but then it is looking majorly exhausted. Let's take a look at this area, and we can see that the exhaustion runs strong in this area. We don't like getting above this. We don't like getting above this, but we do like getting below it. So we did break the weekly entry, and then we didn't have the force to keep going. Tomorrow might be our chance to re-break it. This could be the retest on a larger time scale, right? This is screaming, I want to come down tomorrow. It's screaming that. And if it does, then it can possibly re-trigger the weekly entry again and coming in possibly taking out PT1 or even PT2 on the weekly. I'm still in some weekly contracts for this to be completely transparent. It was rough at open today when it shot up like, and every time I was getting ready to sell my contract, it just kept coming lower and lower and lower and lower and lower. So I said, okay, let me let this weekly plan play out and see what happens. And, ending like this, it gives me excitement because this gives me a chance to get into it again, but even earlier and average down my cost, thus putting me in a better position to make some profit on the same ticker. So yeah, if you're in the weekly on that with me still, there's some fun notes. Now I'm going to be recommending the 63 strike price. Of course, you can always go next week as well. I love the price. I love the delta on both of these. But next week you do get a little bit better delta. Keep that in mind. It is more expensive for the premium. Other than that, going to the 30-minute time frame, we can start knocking out where these price targets are coming from right here. Check out in post market, also bouncing off of it right here off of this one where all of this is having trouble. I didn't put it at the bottom of two, put it at the bottom of the one. And then we have the bottom of the three where this is chopping through as well, and the bottom of the two, and then finally the bottom of the day right in here, which was the lowest part that we made into the weekly movement. Moving on to Zoom. 67 is exactly where I suggest buying these calls for next week or same week. All right, Juicy failed 2 in here. 67 is where I'm going to be suggesting to buy it. You're going to have an amazing delta. You're going to be in the money. The minute it goes a penny over it, you got 22 whole cents before the first price target, which is the high of the one. All right. So moving into the 30-minute time frame, you can see where that's that first pivot, second pivot, third pivot. Pretty easy to see. These are just classic swinging highs. Then we're going to get right in here where this is also starting to chop through, and then the top of that one. And I think that that's the range that it could possibly have for the day. How do we check things like range? Well, you just take the candle and then you move it up to where it could potentially open. It could open right in here, and that's the range. So it goes right within that area of what is possible for it to do. Meta. Now, Meta, interestingly, I'm not giving it its full range because it is moving several dollars, right? So I'm not going to get thirsty for it and say all the way up to here or anything like that. I'm going to be a little bit more conservative on the play because I'm not really trying to ride out a $15 movement because I don't really think it'll go all the way up here, to be honest. I don't think it'll do that. And if it does, and I'm in a call, yay, shout out to my runner that I could have. But as far as my plan goes, I'm only trying to take it to the top of here. Top of this two is the first price target. Top of here and top of there are the final two, moving into the 30 minutos. We know where that first PT came from. It was off of the high of the previous day. The next one is going to come right in here. We can see all of this is having a very difficult time getting through. Right up to the top of this, where all of this is kind of chopping through the top of here, which of course, just because this is the big high and then fall. And then the top right here is the max that I think that we'll test out, which, is the top of this daily high and the top of this daily high. I don't really anticipate us going much more beyond that. However, it is FOMC, so it sure as hell could. We'll see, right? Netflix. Oh, I didn't go over Meta's strike price. All right, so I think the safe spot to buy is going to be around the 475. However, you could absolutely get the 502. I would suggest same weeks as opposed to next week's just because of that huge price difference. Moving on to the final one, which is Netflix. Juicy failed to after becoming a nice two down, starting here, two down, saying, oops, never mind, and shooting right to the upside. Looks like we could want to test out a nice little space of movement here. I would suggest the 625 strike price. You could get these lower ones. The delta's just not going to be as great, to be honest. I don't recommend next week's because it is outrageously more expensive than same weeks for Netflix. That being said, 30-minute time frame. Seeing our first pivot right here, our second pivot right here, our final here, and because of the big $3 range between this, I wanted to zoom in. Is there anything else that it could potentially pivot off of? And sure enough, right here off of this two, we just bled. So this could be another potential algorithm that we will have to make through. I'm not going beyond that. And, this is going on into range because there is not any price targets for quite some time after that. So I'm not going to chase it. I'll take the little $6, $7 movement. I'll call it a day. So hopefully that helps you guys out. Appreciate your patience. I'm feeling a lot better today. And my voice is back. God bless. Let's keep killing it together. And I'll see y'all soon.